Welcome to Parkinson's Support Group of Sonoma County. This month's speaker presentation is made by Marianne McBride on the Council on Aging. She's a fifth generation Sonoma County resident. Marianne McBride, President and CEO of Council on Aging since August 2009, was previously the organization's development director with the responsibility of raising up to $4 million annually. In 2006 and 2007, she put together the strategic plan and led the effort to raise an additional $3.5 million to build the new Meals on Wheels kitchen. Prior to Council on Aging, she was with United Way of Sonoma, Mendocino Lake, serving as Vice President of Research Development for those counties, with the responsibility of running a $4 to $5 million in-county annual campaign. From 1992 to 2001, Marianne also served as the Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club of Cloverdale, rebuilding the clubhouse after a 1995 fire and running the capital campaign to add a full-size gymnasium. Marianne is a 2012 recipient of North Bay Business Journal's Nonprofit Leadership Award and Council on Aging, and was chosen by North Bay Biz Magazine as the best nonprofit for 2013. In addition to running Council on Aging with a budget of 6,075 employees, Marianne is a seated member of Sonoma County Health Action and was chosen as one of the 5-member team from Sonoma County to the 2014 National Leadership Academy for Public Health to create a healthy aging plan for Sonoma County. Currently, Marianne serves on the leadership team of Aging, Together Sonoma County, and the implementation of Age-Friendly Sonoma County. We welcome you wholeheartedly, Marianne. Thank you so much for being our speaker for this month. And now we welcome Marianne McBride.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. This is not my first time at the Parkinson's support group. Interestingly, I began my role as CEO in 2009, and 1 month later, my late husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so it was the beginning of a journey. And the Parkinson's support group was great and a great resource, especially to him at that point. So it's a pleasure to be back today. Council on Aging was founded in 1966 in direct response to the Older Americans Act. Don't know if you're familiar with the Older Americans Act, but it passed in 1965. And along with the passage of the act, there was also a provision for funding. So basically, the Older Americans Act said that as communities, we have a basic responsibility to take care of our seniors by providing a multitude of services. So at that point, the funding went from federal to state to counties, and then county government had the option of either providing the services themselves or subcontracting with nonprofits to provide the service. So although there weren't a lot of senior serving organizations back then, they popped up across the United States to provide these services because, quite frankly, it's a lot cheaper for a nonprofit to provide the service than for county government to provide the service. So again, I think Council on Aging's first funding amount was about $75,000, and now, X number of years later, the funding is close to about $1.5 million out of our whole budget, which is edging towards $7 million at this point. So our mission is to enhance the quality of life for our aging population by providing programs and services that promote well-being and maintain independence. I'll go into all of our programs. So we have about 12 programs, but I kind of want to give you a little bit of the state of aging here in Sonoma County. So our population in Sonoma County is actually going down. I think right before the 2017 fires was just under 500,000, and it's kind of edging down. I think it's about 492 right now. But the interesting thing to note is the older adult population actually represents 138,000 of that 492,000. When I started with Council on Aging back in 2005, the number of seniors in Sonoma County was actually 79,000. So in 18 years, it's gone from 79,000 all the way up to 138,000. Back then, we expected that it would peak at 140,000. But those numbers are changing. And now the expectation is about 160,000, and that seniors will represent at least a third of the population here in Sonoma County. And I think that's for a lot of obvious reasons. Those of us who have been here for a long time hope to age out here. A lot of our younger people are leaving the county because it's so expensive. But that doesn't mean that it's easy for seniors here in Sonoma County. So every single year, Sonoma County Adult and Aging has surveys, Council on Aging has surveys, our Aging Together group has surveys, and we kind of listen to what people are saying. And I can tell you that the biggest concerns for seniors here in Sonoma County haven't changed a lot. The biggest are housing. Will I be able to maintain my housing for the duration of my life? Transportation. At least 25% of us will lose our ability to drive in our lifetime. And our transportation system, quite frankly, is not the best for an older adult. Fortunately, we now have Uber, so that improves things a little bit, but it really doesn't stretch throughout the whole county. Buses pretty much end within cities by 5 o'clock, which means older adults can't go out if they're not driving anymore. So housing, transportation, big issues. The other, which continues to be an issue, is will my finances provide for me for the duration of my life? So once we retire, income is pretty fixed. And it's an expensive county to live in with inflation. So that continues to be an issue. The other issue which has emerged more recently, and I would say more recently since about maybe 2016, 17, around the time of the fires. And that concern is the fear of isolation, number one, but even bigger than that, a fear of losing relevance, becoming invisible. So an acknowledgement that people have lived an entire productive life. They've worked, they've raised families, they've had careers, they've built our community, contributed to our community. But increasingly, as technology changes, they feel that their wisdom is less valued, that their history is not anything anyone's interested in. And so there's never been a more important time to really change the culture of aging, not only in Sonoma County, but really across the country. And other countries do it a lot better than we do. So Sonoma County back in 2015, and this was part of our aging plan for Sonoma County, we discovered that the World Health Organization already had a movement called Age Friendly. And so we studied it and we went, okay, this is exactly what we want to do. We want our seniors more valued, and we want to build a community that helps people to age in community as opposed to aging in isolation. So Sonoma County actually completed the application, and we received our designation as an age-friendly Sonoma County. What that meant is that we had a group of volunteers who all came together and put together a plan or a focus for Sonoma County. Council on Aging was leading that effort, and we were receiving funding to do so. However, that funding went away. And so now we're just a bunch of volunteers that are trying to make this happen. But really, when you look at an age-friendly community, you're looking at all those things that we're already, that our community is already worried about. So you're looking at transportation, you're looking at housing, you're looking at both the built structure, you're looking at parks, you're looking at stoplights or crosswalk lights. Are they long enough for an older adult to be able to walk across the street? because if it's long enough for an older adult who may have some mobility issues, it's also going to be long enough for a mother who's pushing a stroller and has a toddler by the hand as well. So if a community is great for an 80-year-old, that means it's also great for an 8-year-old and everyone else in between. But part of the biggest part of it, of an age-friendly community, is making sure that our seniors are connected. And government can't really do that for us. That's something that we have to do for each other. And what that looks like, it's got to be a grassroots effort. And so it takes a while to accomplish it. There's some great programs that are working towards that. One of the best ways is building neighborhood networks, building special interest networks like the Parkinson's Support Group, service organizations like Rotary, Kiwanis, church groups, another. It's a great way when you have an existing group to keep older adults engaged, to, if they're no longer driving, to offer to give them a ride to a meeting. If you're going to go out shopping, offer, can I pick something up for you? Would you like to come shopping with me? So it's really on all of us to build the kind of community that we all want to grow old in. And another great group is COPE. If you're not aware of it, right now it's kind of limited to northern Sonoma County, but there are other neighborhood networks as well. But COPE is communities organized to prepare for emergencies. And basically they form neighborhood networks, and it might only be that there's 12 houses in the network. It might be that there are 40 houses in the network. But they always have a leader. They make sure they know everyone in their neighborhood. They know what challenges they might have. And but it's really get to know your neighbors and how can we help each other, not only in times of emergency or in times of disaster, but just in everyday life. So it's working really, really well. They've been up and going probably for about the last 3 or 4 years, and they continue to grow. Right now it's northern Santa Rosa, Cloverdale, and kind of everywhere in between. But I know there's another effort out at Oakmont. There's also one in Sebastopol, and I know COPE's goal is to kind of grow and expand from there. So the other thing to keep in mind is income. For Sonoma County, I don't know if anyone read the statistics, but it's like you have to make close to $100,000 a year to be able to live comfortably, or to be able to even have a house in Sonoma County. You have to have $70,000 a year in order to be able to rent an apartment. So this is increasingly an issue, and Council on Aging, we have more and more calls per month with seniors who just don't have the financial means to access the things they need. And I'll go back to it later, but probably the call that we get the most is from people who are in need of either a memory care facility or something like that, and it's not affordable, and there just really aren't the resources for anyone who can't afford, $7,000 to $12,000 a month for a memory care facility, or the $20,000 to $30,000 a month for full-time caregiving at home. So we have a lot of work to do around that in order to make our community, I think, a better place. So I want to give you a little bit of information about Council on Aging, but about some of our other great partners in Sonoma County and how access resources as you need them. So Council on Aging, we have 12 programs in 4 departments. Those departments are social, financial, health, and nutrition. For those of you who may have known, in the past, we had a legal department that did estate planning. We had to get rid of that about 2 or 3 years ago. It was just too expensive. Attorneys cost a lot, and we couldn't make it go anymore. But we've got some great referrals for people who are looking for estate planning. If people are looking for Any other legal assistance, legal aid is probably the first call that you should make. Um, they receive the funding for elder law. So that would be your call. In the area of social, we provide case management, and I hate that word case management because we're not a case. And we're trying to come up with something that's a little bit more palatable. But basically, that's the name of the funding stream. Case management means that we can meet with someone, go into their home, look at what are the challenges at any point, and put together a plan and connect people with the resources and kind of stick with them until that plan is working, things are going smoothly again. Doesn't mean that people aren't going to circle back and need more help at a later time. But we are funded to do that and happy to do that. And just to give you an idea, the kinds of calls that we would get are, I'm having trouble with, finding a caregiver, or I'm really confused with my Social Security and my Medicare, and or my landlord is wants to evict me. I need some resources, or I don't have any plans in place if something were to happen to me. That's just an example, but it could be anything. The other thing that we have is we have an elder advocate at the Family Justice Center, and this is for people who have been victims of elder abuse or violence. Typically, that's a family member or a caregiver. In fact, I think 7 out of 10 times that's what it is. Family Justice Center, for those of you who may or may not know, is a one-stop shop for anyone who's been a victim of any kind of family abuse or violence. So the YWCA is there with domestic violence. Verity is there for sexual assault. Catholic Charities is there to help with immigration issues, and Council on Aging handles the elder abuse piece. So our advocate there works closely with law enforcement, with the DA's office, and typically she's working with someone who has been a victim. They've come, we've come to know about them either through the police, through Adult Protective Services, or through the DA's office because someone has pressed charges. It's because typically it's a family member. Typically it's the family member who's been taking care of them, or who lives with them, or who they've become very dependent on. It's really hard emotionally to press charges against maybe your adult child. So if they do press charges and if they do testify and all of that, our advocate stays with them throughout the entire process, helps get them situated, helps get the supports that they need in place if their family member's no longer going to be able to have access to them. But if the older adult decides they don't want to press charges, then our elder advocate's role is to help them ensure that the abuse, whether it's financial, physical, emotional, that it never happens again, and that they're aware of what's going on and how to protect themselves. So that's what happens at the Family Justice Center. And our advocate there has been there for a number of years and helps hundreds of people each year. So it's a great service. We also have an intergenerational program. I'm hopeful that this is going to continue. Right now, our funding is only through December, but we've been matching young adults with older adults to help create those intergenerational relationships. We've been able to do it through some funding through our nutrition program. So it's build intergenerational relationships around food. So we've done it in our dining sites. But what we're really focusing on now is with our home delivered clients, our Meals on Wheels clients. So we're pairing young adults, typically they're college students. They go in, they have lunch with the older adult every single week. They interview them, and over a period of about 8 to 10 weeks, they actually write their biography, and we publish a book that's all about them and their history. And it's by the time, you know, the book comes and there's tears, and it really plays into that fear of not being valued anymore, and to have someone actually listen to their story, and ask questions, and it builds an incredible bond between the person who's writing that story and the person who gets to tell their story and have their book published for their family to see. And it's a beautiful thing. So we're super excited. Actually, as soon as school starts, there's one whole class at the JC. No, it's not. Yeah, at the JC, and or maybe it's Sonoma State. Sorry, don't work right directly with it. I think it's Sonoma State. But the whole class is being paired with different seniors, and this is their class project. So super excited about that one. Hope the funding continues next year, because it's just been way too much fun and way too heartwarming. The last of our social programs is our Adult Day program. And basically think of that as a respite program. We've been doing this for years, at least 25 or 30 that I know of. We have name of the social, the student elder. It's called the it is called the intergenerational program. And the staff that's in charge of it is Brooke. The supervisor is Denise. But yeah, or just email me and I can connect you. But it's very cool. We were really excited too, because we had a Spanish speaker who really wanted to do that for a Spanish speaking older adult, and we couldn't find one that was willing to do it and have someone come into their home, but we just made the connection. So we're excited that that one's going to happen as well. Anyway, on to our Adult Day program. We currently have 3 Adult Day programs and 1 Alzheimer's respite program. So our 3 Adult Day programs are in Sonoma Valley at Vintage House, the senior center. We have one at Church of the Roses in Santa Rosa, and the other is in Sebastopol at the Sebastopol Senior Center. Those are for anyone who wants the socialization. Usually there's a little bit of cognitive decline there, but not always. Sometimes it's more of a physical impairment than a cognitive impairment. But we have, each of the programs is open 2 days a week from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. And this is an opportunity for whoever is dealing with the challenges can socialize, have physical and mental stimulation, and also the caregiver or the spouse or the children have a little respite time, can get some errands done, things like that. But during the program, we have gentle exercise. It's typically chair exercise. We also have entertainment almost every day, arts and crafts, storytelling, social sharing. We have a lunch together. It's a pretty fabulous program. And because the needs are so great, last, I think January, February, we opened our Alzheimer's respite program, which is in Santa Rosa on Mendocino Avenue, right on the corner of 7th and Mendocino. We're actually open 5 days per week there. So Monday through Friday. This is for cognitive individuals with cognitive impairment that's a little bit more advanced and needs a higher level of care, might need help with the restroom, things like that. The other great thing at the Alzheimer's respite program is we're using virtual reality there. It's a program that's been specifically designed for older adults. And I'll tell you, they're having a blast with it. Through the virtual reality, one person or more has the headset on, the others can see what's happening on the screen. But like say someone has been on a trip to Ireland and they'd love to go back to the places they were in Ireland. So they might have the headset on and maybe someone else does, but other people in the group have the benefit of them sharing where they've been, and they can go down streets, they can say what restaurant they ate at. The really cool thing is, let's say they grew up in a neighborhood in Nebraska. And if they remember their address, which a lot of times they do, we can actually go back to the neighborhood, and they can walk people around the neighborhood and where they played. And there's a story of a fellow who was walking through his neighborhood and explaining it to the group, and came to a bridge, and then he said, and that's where I proposed to the love of my life. It was such a heartwarming moment. But it stimulates a lot of memories, and people are loving it. So hopefully at some point we'll have the funds to be able to expand that to all 4 of the programs. But we did get someone who helped us do it at Mendocino Avenue. We continue to get multiple calls per day from people who need respite, who need help. It's probably the biggest issue that we're seeing. I don't know if anyone read the paper, but what we've known is that approximately 1 or 9 of us will be dealing with some cognitive issues at some time in our life. And the projection here in Sonoma County is that there's about 15,000 who are dealing with that right now. There's a lot of good reasons to be hopeful. There's a lot of studies, there's a lot of lifestyle habits, and we firmly believe that the sooner people get involved with a program and keep themselves active, and that the slower the prognosis. I'm hopeful that at some point that we'll have 3 levels of program, but a very entry level, which is just diagnosed, want to stay as sharp as possible for as long as possible, want to be in a group of like-minded people, all with the same goals, then maybe a next level, and then the 3rd level, which would be the advanced. So we're bringing in someone who used to work for Council on Aging, and she's been working in San Francisco for the Institute on Aging, a program called Campania. And it's their whole dementia program, and they have, I think, 4 different programs. She went there to start all of those, and now she's coming back to Council on Aging as our Director of Social and Fiduciary Services, and will be helping us grow our services in that area, because that's what we see as the biggest need and the best way for Council on Aging to make a contribution. Also, we have fiduciary services. So as you know, if you have a trust, you are your own trustee. And if you were to lose capacity or to pass away, which from what I heard, 100% of us do pass away. So there has to be a successor trustee. And for many people, they're going to have a friend or one of their children or someone that they trust they're going to name as their successor trustee. However, if Council on Aging has licensed fiduciary, and we have been doing that work for, 30 years. We've, I think it's been 2008 that it required that you have licensed fiduciaries. And so we have followed that route. We're currently serving, I think, probably about 70 clients. We have about another probably 300 in the drawer, we say, which is we've been appointed as trustee, successor trustee, and we reach out annually. We say, has anything changed? Do you want to meet with us? And if people want to meet with us, over the years, they can. Otherwise, we're here when they need them. So why do people pick Council on Aging? Well, the easy is if they don't have anyone else. But the reason that we're finding more and more and more is that people name Council on Aging because they don't want to name one sibling or one of their children, but not another, and then the other children, then they fight. So they're trying to allow their kids to grieve and have someone, an independent third party, actually do the distribution of the estate. So it is a fee-based service, but we're standard with what any other licensed fiduciary would charge. I think the difference is you don't have to worry about us retiring because we just hire new fiduciaries. We don't ever age out per se. The other benefit is that if there's any profit that's made at all, it all goes back into senior services. So we're not doing it for the profit. Our hope is to just break even every once in a while. If it's a really busy year, we might make a little, but again, goes back into senior services. Health programs. We have 2 mental health programs. First, one is called Peer Support. And basically we have a group of highly trained volunteers under the supervision of a clinical supervisor. And they're paired with people who are dealing with mental health issues. Probably the most common is depression. But we also have some other issues that people are dealing with as well. What the volunteers do is they meet with their clinical supervisor every single week, just to talk about who they're working with, what are some of the challenges, to get advice on, how should I help them, and, to talk to each other. And then they meet with their client at least once a week. They set goals. The idea is just to, how can we make things better? Is it connecting with a child that maybe you haven't connected with in a long time, or an old long lost friend, or you haven't been out of the house in a really long time? How can we start working towards doing that? So we've been doing that program for about 14, 15 years. Highly successful program. The other is a brand new program called Pearls. And it's basically, it's a program to help people have happier, healthier lives. And so there's a mental health component to it, but there's also, how do we keep our body moving? How do we work on our balance? But just, I want to be as happy and as healthy as I can for as long as I can. This is an evidence-based program. It was created, I think it was the University of Washington. It's been around for a number of years, highly successful in other areas. We just received funding for it, and we just started it on July 1st. So brand new. We have a waiting list of people already who want to do this as it's kicking off. But we have not volunteers. We have staff, coaches who have been hired. They're trained in the Pearls program. They're under the supervision of a clinical supervisor who's there to offer, support and advice on any mental health issues. There's also a case manager in that program. But the idea is to meet on a regular basis. It could be just a few meetings. It could be 2, and then somebody says, okay, I got some ideas now, I'm on my own. But it could go on 6 months or a year if someone wanted to. So it's very flexible to what people need. But it's really kind of helping empower and make life better in the last chapter of our lives. So Pearls is going great. Reach out if you know of anyone that might benefit from. The last 2 of our health programs are Sonoma Wine Country Games. Those are, I still call them the senior games, but not everybody wanted to be called a senior, even though we are. But anyway, we've been doing that for 11 years. And we saw this as our first health and wellness program, but it was really a lot more than that. We were looking for a fundraiser and trying to find something that wasn't another wine event in Sonoma County. And we had a young development director at that time, and she happened on she came back with the Senior X Games. She thought that would be really cool. And I'm seeing liability because I'm imagining seniors on BMX bikes and skateboards, and X Games just didn't. But I told her, research, see what you come up with. What are the pros? What are the cons? And she then learned about the senior game movement. The largest games are in They're the Huntsman Games, St. George. But they have 10,000 people over the age of 50 who convene and participate in multiple different athletic competitions. And when our development director went, she saw 10,000 people who were happy, healthy, socially connected, and these were people who started sports later in their life. Some are more active than others. But that was the start of our Wine Country Games. And more than anything, we really wanted to highlight the potential of our later years, that it's not all doom and gloom. If you think about 138,000 seniors in Sonoma County, and we're serving maybe 7,000 or 8,000, which means there's 130,000 who are doing okay. They're doing pretty darn good. So any opportunity that we have to highlight all the benefits of aging and why we should embrace it, then boy, we're all over that. So senior games continue. And lastly is our work around age friendly. It's not funded. It's every opportunity I have to talk about it, whatever group I can hopefully inspire to think about how they can contribute to that is an ongoing goal. The one thing that's come out of that, and Council on Aging's or my own participation in Aging Together Sonoma County, is now Sonoma County is in the process of creating a master plan for aging for Sonoma County. So I don't know if you're familiar, but the governor has a few years ago started a master plan for aging for the state of California. The great news is not only does he have the plan, he's got committees, he's putting funding to back the plan. And so Sonoma County, we went, okay, if that's what the governor's making important, then let's take his master plan, create our own master plan that aligns, excuse me, that aligns with the governor's plan, that it's going to align with funding so that we can see more funding here in Sonoma County to actually promote Sonoma County as a better place to age. So watch for that. You're going to see more. We have the plan is being created by, I think it's about 15 or 16 volunteers. So they opened it up to volunteers. There's still an expert team, and we'll meet with the volunteers occasionally. But this is meant to kind of be bottoms up type plan. And they all applied for this. I think we had about 49 people apply, and we wanted to keep it close to 15, but I think it's about 16 or 17. So you'll hear more about that as that continues to go on. Our final program area is nutrition. That's what we're best known for. We do a darn good job of it. But Council on Aging is the Meals on Wheels provider for Sonoma County, for Roanoke Park, Cotati, all the way to Cloverdale, Sonoma Valley, out to the river area. We deliver about 180,000 home delivered meals each year. I think it's trending higher, so I think we'll probably get closer to 190 this year. We provide 3 meal choices a day. Many years ago, we had 1, and if you didn't like that 1 meal, you were it was tough luck. But quite a few years ago, we added a vegetarian option, and we now have a 3rd option as well. So, and you can move among all the different areas. So you could have a vegetarian meal one day. You could have, we always have a poultry dish, and then the 3rd category is either beef, fish, or pork, and those vary. So basically, when we do intakes and assessments, when people sign up for Meals on Wheels, we have a long survey. We ask about their likes, their dislikes, allergies, religious, what they can or can't eat for religious reasons. And basically, we assign a meal to them each day. However, they can change it. But we realized when we're doing 1,000 meals a day, we can't have 1,000 people calling to say what they want to order for the next day. So basically, our system makes choices for them based on their initial intake and all the questions that they answered. And at the beginning of every month, they get the full month menu. They know what the 3 meal options for each day. They know what's been chosen for them, and they can call us and change. On average, we have about 20 calls a day. So that's an easy switch for us, but it's not 1,000. We have a great chef right now. She's been with us for a couple of years. She was a head chef in Oakland, always has been high-end restaurants. Fortunately moved to Sonoma County, had a couple kids and didn't want to work nights and weekends anymore. And she's put her heart and soul into coming up with meal options that are tasty. We're limited because we're funded. There's very, very, very strict criteria. If we have salt in our kitchen, we're in trouble. So she can't use salt, but she knows other spices. She can use a little bit of soy, but just a little bit. So it's, again, our food is great right now, has been for the last couple of years. So if you know of anyone who tried it and went, tell them try again. It's a lot better. In addition to our home delivered meals, people also get a daily safety check. And this is so important because at least once a week, we find someone who's fallen. Might have been getting off the toilet, out of the shower, something. So it's harder, when they've been on the floor all weekend, that we don't like to see. But it's ongoing. So the safety check, and it's not just if someone's fallen. If they're sick and we know they need medical care, we're going to call the emergencies. If we need to call an ambulance, we're going to call an ambulance. But that safety check is so important. Or if there's a rapid deterioration and a family member is out of state and they need to know about it, and so that we can get them what they need. Additionally, for our clients who have pets, we deliver pet food. We don't want our clients sharing their meals and the nutrition that they're getting with their pets. So we have a program. We have people who donate specifically to the pet food, so that'll never go away. And it's made a huge difference. The other really cool thing is we have Trader Joe's, and we have a farm out of Sonoma that donate bouquets of flowers or plants all the time. And so we know who wants them, who doesn't want them, but we deliver flowers and plants along with their meal and their pet food. And we have people who, when are my flowers coming this week? So, but it's an ongoing, and it's we've been doing that for a few years now, and whatever you can do to brighten someone's day, even if it's a few more things in the cars. I think we have 64 Meals on Wheels routes, so gives you an idea of how many moving parts. We really depend on volunteers. We do have some paid drivers, but we also have probably at least 200 Meals on Wheels drivers, mostly are volunteers, and most of the time they just do 1 day a week. And if you know of any board husbands who retired and wives who want to get them out of the house, Meals on Wheels volunteer driver is where they want to be. We have a lot of men who do that, and they want to stay busy, and it's and they love talking to people on the routes. And so anyway, if you know of anyone, send them our way. We love it. We also have dining sites. We call them our community dining sites throughout the county. We've got locations. Typically, they're in low-income housing. We've got a couple in senior centers. We're 1 day a week at Finley. We're out at Vintage House in Sonoma. We're at Roanoke Park Senior Center. We're at Silvercrest. Salvation Army has a site there. We're in low-income housing sites, but they're open to anyone. So if you know of anyone who's still driving, would like the socialization aspect of having a meal together, check our website and see where we are. During COVID, we had to cut down or shut down all of our dining sites, clearly. And but we knew that there was still food insecurity, and that there were people who were still driving who needed food. And so we opened what we call DUPU, which is drive up pickup, DUPU. And we have, I think, 8 or 9 sites throughout the county. And once a week, people can drive up and get a meal pack of 3 meals to take. During COVID, we had more funding, and we were able to do a 5-day meal pack up, but funding has been cut. So we're down to a 3-day. Hopefully we'll find some more funding. What we discovered was a lot more than the people who were going to the dining sites needed this food. And so we ended up doing, we were up as high as 10,000 meals a month just at the drive up pickup sites. And we asked them, we said, you know, when COVID is over, will you go back to the dining sites? And a couple said, oh yeah, absolutely. We went to the dining sites. We'll go back to the dining sites, but we really need the extra food. But more than that, we had people who said, no, I'm not going to go to a dining site. And the reasons, and one of the reasons that I read about was Parkinson's. And they said that, you know, it was so hard to get the food in your mouth that they didn't want to do that in a public place. Another fellow said, you know, that he drooled. And I remember my husband's diagnosis went from Parkinson's to Lewy body, and he had a drooling issue, and it was really hard to eat in public. It was rough. So fortunately, the state has seen the wisdom and also saw the need, because it wasn't just in Sonoma County, it was everywhere. This was a new population that they were never going to go to a dining site. And it's not even just a health issue. There was some shame involved in going in and saying, I need a free meal. Or not everybody's an extrovert. Not everybody wants to go in and chat with people they don't know. So there were again a lot of reasons. But the good news is the funding has continued, albeit much smaller. We're able to keep doing that. What we've heard, not until next, I think, July 1st, we've heard there's more money coming down from the state to enhance the numbers of these drive-up pickup sites. So again, that's kind of in a nutshell what Council on Aging does. I want to share with you, we've gotten probably more specialized than we used to be. I mean, there was a time I think we were doing 19 different programs and we were in a million different directions. We've honed that down a little bit. We don't have an information and referral line. We used to be funded for that. Now the county wants to be the information and referral line. So if you know of anyone who just has a basic question or wants to be pointed in the direction of the right agency, it's 565-INFO. So that's 707-565-4636. And the county has what they call the Aging and Disability Resource Hub. And they have, I think, four full-time people who are answering the phone and will direct to the right agency. So Council on Aging, we're the largest senior serving nonprofit in Sonoma County, but there's some other fabulous ones. You're not familiar with senior advocacy. They have the ombudsman program. So they're in the nursing facilities. They're the watchdog. They're the kind of the adult protective services in the nursing facility realm. They also have HICAP. So if anyone who's struggling with insurance and, you know, what kind of supplemental do I use, or I lost my Medicare, or do I qualify for Medi-Cal? They're great to talk to. Redwood Caregivers is fabulous for caregiver support. There's who else? If you're in Petaluma, Petaluma Peoples does a lot of the same things we do. They're our partner on the PEARLS program. So they're handling the Petaluma area, and we're everything north of Petaluma. So, you know, Catholic Charities is housing, Burbank Housing for low-income senior housing, absolutely. PEP Housing is another low-income senior housing. Sebastopol. I can't remember the name of the parent company, but there's what's it called? Burbank Apartments and Orchard, maybe. Anyway, we work with all of them. We try not to do. I see the question. I'll answer that in just a minute. We try not to do to duplicate services just because it's a waste of community's money, but we try to partner really well and support each other and provide that kind of safety network that makes it a great place to age in Sonoma County. So the question was, what's the difference between Council on Aging and area agency on aging? So Sonoma County has adult and aging department. And they're kind of the funnel for funding for a lot of the senior programs, not all of them, but a lot of them. The Area Agency on Aging is an advisory board that was appointed by the Adult and Aging Department. They receive the funding. They come out and visit all of us. They read our proposals. Like, we're coming up against another grant period where we have to reapply for all of the programs that we're doing. So anyone on the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Board will read those proposals, and then they'll distribute the funding. So basically, the Area Agency on Aging exists at a county level. It exists also at the state level, and basically they're the funder, is what they do. Yeah, if that helps. I think I've kind of wrapped it all up with everything that we do. Try to give you, an overview of what's happening in the county. I'm so happy that you all, or that a group of you came to the brain health. There's a lot of proactive things we can do to be as healthy as we can for as long as we can. But stay engaged in a group, and keep your body moving. We have a great opportunity here. Other questions? Oh, for the homeless. That's a hard one. First I would point people to Catholic Charities. I mean, they're kind of the emergency, kind of the first, when people are looking at that. There's not a lot of resources to help people stay out of or resist becoming homeless. It would be great if there was, there's a fund that can pay your rent if you're behind. There is a program, the Chronicle has a program, what's it called? Season of Sharing. And you can call 211 to find out who's doing that right now. I think it's Community Action Partnership is doing it. But people can apply one time only for some funds to help out. However, they're going to look at the overall financial picture, and if they see that someone is sustainable, they'll support if it's just a one-time thing. But it doesn't work for everyone. So Catholic Charities, Burbank Housing is where I would go for low-income housing. But again, or call 565-INFO. I'm looking, what is the cost for successor trustee? Okay, so basically, once a person passes, it's 1% of the estate. If we are called into action prior to that, so let's say someone loses capacity, and we don't know how long we're going to be working with them. We have an hourly charge. So our department, we have a licensed fiduciary, we have a fiduciary case manager, we have someone who handles the bookkeeping, and depending who's doing the work, the fees range from about $95 an hour to about $150 an hour. So for instance, like if we had someone, let's say that they're in a memory care facility, and all we have to do is we have to write the check to the memory care facility, got to make sure their taxes are done. We've got to, do their accountings. Those charges are going to be relatively low. It doesn't cost a lot to, it might take, 10 minutes to write a check, balancing the statement at the end of every month might take 20 minutes. So it might only have a couple $100s a month charges, but figure 1% at after someone passes away. Let's see, the number I quoted at the beginning. So the older population of 138,000, that is over 60 years and older. And what I've heard, so it's going to be interesting to see what this does to the numbers, but supposedly 41% of our population is 50 and older. Now, again, I don't have that one verified, but that's the number that I've heard, which means that if really 40% of the population is 50 and older, it means that we're going to go way over 160,000. However, people can leave the community as well. So how do we call you? So Council on Aging's number is 707-525-0143. And also, if you look at our website and about us, you'll see different departments, what the phone number is for each department. So you can easily do that. Okay. Have I addressed all the questions? Oh, let's see. Name of the social program. Okay, I think I did. So the social program and the student elder bio interview program. That is intergenerational. Brooke, I can't remember Brooke's last name. I'm so sorry. I have 72 employees. But Brooke is the intergenerational. Her boss is Denise Johnson, and Denise is the director of the nutrition and health programs. So, other questions? Did I get everyone? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all so much. It has been a privilege. I love sharing. I love sharing what Council on Aging does, but I also love talking about aging in Sonoma County. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for what you do for the community, for each other, and keep on doing it. If there's nothing else.
Thank you, Marianne McBride. I just want to say again, this is Marianne McBride with Council on Aging. I want to thank you very much for the services that you provide. It was an incredibly informative topic, and it's something that our communities need so much. So thank you for taking leadership in that and for helping us understand what some of the resources are out there for us as we age. Once again, thank you, Marianne.
Wonderful. Stay cool, drink a lot of water.
And thank you. I want you to all stay posted for a moment, because this is Tess Lorraine, and I'm the president of the Parkinson Support Group of Sonoma County. And first, I want to thank Mark Alexander, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Mark. Mark Alexander has been the pillar of Parkinson Support Group of Sonoma County for many, many years. And I've gotten several compliments from organizations, recently from the executive director of Parkinson's Association of Northern California, saying that of all the counties in Northern California, Sonoma County provides the most for its members. And I would have to say that the person who is responsible for that mostly is Mark Alexander. He has been so proactive in making sure that we get good speakers to our meetings and providing the monthly speaker meeting, from which everything else in our group kind of branches out from. So happy birthday, Mark. And thank you for giving so much to this community for as many years as you have.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. And I also want to acknowledge that I am going to be leaving the board in this next month. And I am passing the baton to Peter Karp, who is on this Zoom meeting right now, who I'm going to have Alicia spotlight. I can't begin to say how enthusiastic I am that Peter is going to be our new president of this board. Peter has a history. First of all, he has a wife who's had Parkinson's for 20 years. And so he's very familiar with Parkinson's. And I'll let him speak more about his experience with that. But on top of that, he has been a business owner for 65 years. He was part of a board of a nonprofit group that helped, I'm thinking that it helped social rehabilitation services for organizations in crisis and for individuals in crisis. So he's already been actively participating on a board, and he's led personal growth groups for Mankind Project. He's a certified active coach. He's a business coach. He's been part of the Fortune 500 companies in sales. And so I feel incredibly grateful that we have him as a leader on our board now. Thank you, Peter, for joining Parkinson's Support Group of Sonoma County. I'd like you to just say a few words.
Okay, thank you, Tess. I appreciate all that you've been doing all these last several years and helping get us through the whole pandemic and all of those really, really difficult changes for Parkinson's Support Group. And just to clarify, I'm not that old. I haven't been a business owner for 65 years. But I was in a family business that manufactured apparel in New York. And the 65 is the number of years that the company was profitable, which me and my dad and my grandfather, if my grandfather were still around, are very proud of. And what else? I've been very involved in the Mankind Project as a coordinator and a leader for the last 18 years. And I still meet in a men's group every Tuesday night, which I've been doing every week for 18 years. And yoga is important to me, and I've been doing that for 30 some years. And most important, and this is where my heart is around this, I've been a caregiver, and I've been a caregiver for my wife, Mary. She was actually diagnosed with lupus in 1995, and then Parkinson's in 2003. So it's been a really long journey for us. Mary is now in a care home here in Santa Rosa, so I've learned a lot about home caregiving and having caregivers, and ones that show up and ones that don't, and what works and what doesn't work. And I hope to keep learning and sharing and inspiring other people to come and help with this, because it takes a village to do this kind of work. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Peter. And I'll see you all next month, which will be my last month of being on the board for Parkinson's Support Group of Sonoma County. I have moved on because I'm living in Colorado right now. And I feel like we definitely need everybody on the board to be very involved in Sonoma County. So thanks again, Peter. Thank you all on the board for the work that you do. If any of you are interested in participating in the board or participating as volunteers, it's really, I think we're at a new frontier with the Parkinson's Support Group. I think that Peter can really bring this to a new level, and we would love your participation. So thank you all, and I will see you next month. But for now, we're going to be breaking out into the support groups. I will not be in the support group, but have a good discussion, and I'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess.